Hey everyone, so this is Sophia. I know you haven't seen me for a while. If you don't know me, I had done a couple videos with Nico before, but now I'm going to be doing my own as well. So today I wanted to cover something that I thought was worthwhile, and I'm sure you all have heard of it, but basically, Tulsi Gabbard attended an event that was hosted by a lot of the family members and survivors of the 9/11 attacks, and it was at the 9/11 Tribute Museum in Lower Manhattan. So this is just from an article in Newsweek. It's just kind of going through her message and her main points here. And what she did was she called on the Justice Department and the FBI to declassify and release any investigative documents that implicate the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the 9/11 attacks that left 3,000 people dead. So she had an introduction and she had her speech, and she also answered questions at the end. So I wanted to play back one of the important questions here, which was addressing the fact that we are putting our foreign relations ahead of our national security interests, ahead of the interests of the American people. So Tulsi, to that, she had to say this.
Is it made him realize that our people, this is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, that our people are more important than our foreign relations. Do you agree with that?
100%. This is why we're here. This is about the American people. This is about our country. It's about honoring the loss of those like your wife and making sure that we are putting the interests of the American people ahead of the interests of any foreign government. What to speak of the foreign government of the Saudi kingdom. You've heard some of the others talk about the other atrocities occurring in other parts of the world. Support from the Saudi kingdom, both directly and indirectly, still going on to this day for terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, which is an outright betrayal. It's a betrayal to you, to your wife, to every single family that lost someone on that day, to every single first responder, every single American service member, every single American. Which is why what has been going on now for over 18 years in withholding this information from all of you and from the American people continues that betrayal.
So she also introduced a resolution. So this was just from her Tulsi Press Twitter account. So she said, yesterday I introduced House Resolution 662, a resolution that calls on the federal government to declassify and release information regarding the September 11, 2001 attacks in order to ensure a full public understanding of what happened and who was involved. Though Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11 over 18 years ago, the American people still do not have the truth about Saudi Arabia and who helped Al-Qaeda carry out these attacks. The truth is being withheld from the families of those who were killed on 9/11 and from the American people. Full disclosure of these facts is not only necessary for these families, it is essential for our national security and to keep the American people safe. The Trump administration must put the interests of the American people first and release this information now. So regarding the Saudi role in the September 11 attacks, this is just from Wikipedia, just going over the fact that 15% of the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, and she also discussed the importance of releasing this information, not withholding it, from the American people. And the family members and the survivors also talked about JASTA and how Obama vetoed that after it had gotten unanimous support from both the House and the Senate. But then they did override the veto. So they were very upset at the fact that he had vetoed it, rightfully so. But they also were very grateful for Tulsi to be there, and they referred to her several times as their champion, because she is the only one who's been really willing to actually stand up, for the people. Even, she did criticize the fact that there were many people, even with the Khashoggi incident, who were unwilling to go against what Saudi Arabia wants, because they are very fearful of the power that they hold in Congress. So she said that it's absolutely unacceptable that the government's investigation into Saudi ties has been kept declassified, or has kept classified from the victims' families and the American people as a whole. And she did say that she would withhold aid from Saudi Arabia, for U.S. aid from Saudi Arabia. That would be one of the important pillars of her, foreign policy, knowing what they're doing, in Yemen, and their support for terrorist groups around the country, around the world. Sorry, and obviously our own country has been also allowing that by considering them some kind of ally, and she made it clear that they are no ally when they're directly threatening our national security. So overall, it was really interesting to see her be the first and the lone presidential candidate to call on the release of all of the investigation that they did. They had 3 different sets of documents there, and she did say that she would be bringing those and handing those out to all members of Congress, because she is, after all, introducing that resolution, and she does feel like they need to know exactly the ties, the Saudi Arabia's ties to these attacks. What is being withheld? The heavily redacted versions of the report is not enough to give closure to these people's families. So there were a lot of speakers at the event, and like I said, they were very grateful for Tulsi to be the only candidate to do this. They said that they had reached out to other campaigns, but they didn't really have that capability, that ability to stand up, shoulder to shoulder with all of the families, all of the 9/11 community. So I do have some of the documents with me from yesterday. And those are, again, like I said, the documents that she's going to be sharing with members of Congress, so that they are aware of this. And obviously, we'll have to see how many decide to not, have the guts to co-sponsor her resolution. But that's something that we're going to have to see in the future. So I just wanted to cover that. I thought it was really interesting. She did post the full video, including the speeches and the questions and answers that she had on her YouTube channel. So we'll see. And I mean, so far the media coverage, I haven't seen. I was expecting to see a lot of them suggest, that she's a conspiracy theorist, that this is dangerous for some kind of presidential candidate to be saying this. But in reality, she's already said so many things that are already, conspiracy theories in the mind of a lot of the establishment, the media establishment. So this is really nothing. After all, they kind of know that she is telling the truth, and they can't, at some point, they can't try to keep twisting themselves into a pretzel trying to hide this. And this is something, she's just saying, release these, reports. It's not really that hard. There needs to be transparency within our government, and they do need to be held accountable, and we need to know the full story and the truth, and to bring justice to what happened to these people, to the direct victims of these, but also the indirect, their families and friends. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this segment of Mi Casa Su Casa.